And we are live. Hey, Michelle, how are you? Let me get my microphone on. I'm sorry, I'm running just a little bit late. I came downstairs to get signed on and realized that the dinner I had put in the oven was still in the oven. So I had to get that out before we had a disaster. So can you guys hear me okay? So let me just get everything over here all situated. But I'm really excited about tonight's topic. I really am. And let me just say real quick, I've got 11 people on. So if I could get 11 thumbs up, that would just be great. So, and then we'll kind of get down to business. Okay, so Free to Be Kinky says she can hear me just fine, so that's great. I've got my microphone on, and I will just go ahead and give the greeting. So, welcome to T&Tlive, and in this episode of T&Tlive, I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to plan meals, meal planning 101 for beginners. But before we get into that, if we're just meeting, I'm Denise Jordan, and I teach women how to make and keep a home. So if you want to learn more about running a household, subscribe and double tap that little bell icon so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Thrifty Tashi said she's got her pen and paper for notes. Okay. Well, if you've joined us on the replay, welcome, and I'm sure you'll get good value out of what we do here today. So be sure when you jump on to either take notes, or if you have questions or comments, be sure and leave them in the comments section below, and then I will get back to them. And for those of you that have joined me live, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I know that some of you are my ride or die fans, and I really appreciate it. And I have to tell you guys, I've been just a little bit nervous as I make this shift with this new format for my weekly show. And so I did a test show on Tuesday, and we talked about how often you should change your bath towels. And if you missed that show, I'll link it below so you can check it out. But it was a great show, and we had a lot of fun. There were a lot of good questions, and it was really nice. So let me just go ahead and say hello to those of you that have joined us live. So I've got a Diane Preslow, and said this is her first time with the live chat. So hey, Diane. And for those of you that are my ride and die, say hello to Diane because she's new here to our group. And Thrifty Tashi is saying, hey ladies, so now Tashi, is this simply Tashi that has now changed her name? Inquiring minds want to know, so tell me in the comment section below. Black Butterfly says, hey y'all. Christine Hall says, good evening. And I am just so glad to have all of you with me today. So thank you so much for joining me. So yes, Thrifty Tashi used to be Simply Tashi, one of my little sisters, and now she has changed her name. So okay, glad to have that. Now tonight, this is going to be basic meal planning, and that's why I'm calling it Meal Planning 101, because that's like one of the very most basic college courses you take. And I just wanted to get down to the real basics. And this was a requested video. Several of my subscribers said they would like for me to do a session on meal planning. So I thought I would do that, but I would start out and keep it as simple as possible for this first one. And then the other thing is that with the live stream, I don't have the opportunity to show examples as much as I would. So I will follow this video up, this live stream up with a video where I can show in more stuff. Like I can put in some infographics and some video clips and things like that. And hey, Andrea Mason at the Queen's Court, how you doing? I'm so glad you could join us tonight. So for this episode of T&Tlive, I thought I would show you how I meal plan for my family. I show you what works for us and how you can use these examples to get started on creating a meal plan for your family. And the beauty of meal planning is that it saves you money, it saves you headaches, it saves you answering the question, what's for dinner, 50,000 times. So that's why I say I'm calling this Meal Planning 101, Step 1. And I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to get started. All right, so tip number 1 is to take inventory. And I will show you that that is what I've done. I picked up this little notebook, and it was like a set of 3 when I got them. And so me and my husband took an inventory of what we had in the freezer. So you take an inventory of what you've got in your freezer. Then you take an inventory of what's in your fridge. So we've got a freezer out in the garage that we keep stuff in. Then we've got a refrigerator freezer here in the kitchen. So I checked that one. But then I also took inventory of what's in my refrigerator and then what is in my pantry. So the first thing you want to do is to take inventory, because you've got to know what you've got on hand. That's important. You've got to know what you've got on hand, because it saves you money, because you don't end up purchasing things that you already have. So tip number 1 is to take inventory. And the whole idea behind meal planning is not just to answer what's for dinner, but also to make your life easier, less stressful, and to save a little money, because don't we all need to budget and save some money? So yes. The other thing that taking an inventory does is it lets you know what's about to expire in your refrigerator, your freezer, or your pantry. So let's say you can check out those sell by dates or use by dates, or you know you've had something in the freezer for almost a year or for 6 months or whatever. Well, it's time to rotate that food out. So it's time to get it cooked. I know my husband is the big fisherman of the Midwest, is what I call him. And he's always stocking up the freezer. He starts in the summer, stocking the freezer up so that over the winter, he's got fresh fish of the kind that he likes in the freezer. But then when it gets close to time for fishing season again, he'll start giving away some of what he's got. He'll start cooking up more of it more often so that he can, 1, get ready to have room for the new fish he's going to put in there, but also so that it doesn't get freezer burned, so that it doesn't stay in there too long. So you have to make sure you're rotating your foods out. So the food that's been in the freezer or the fridge or the pantry the longest needs to be pulled forward, and you need to start using it. And so having a meal plan will help you with that, because you'll want to use those items at your earliest convenience. Now, tip number 2 is to plan around your protein. So now what do I mean by that? And I forgot to pull a sheet off the refrigerator. Hey, honey, could you get that sheet on the refrigerator for me? I promise I won't bug you a bunch tonight like I did the other night. Nothing, just hand me that sheet that's on the fridge. Because one of the things you know when you're doing a live stream, you don't leave the screen. That right there. So my trusty helper went and grabbed this off the fridge for me. So thank you, dear. I think I bugged the heck out of him when we had our Tuesday show. So I promised not to do that, and then I forgot to get this over here. But tip number 2 was to plan around your protein. And if you look at this particular item here, and this is by the FDA or the U.S. government, that kind of thing. It is one of those, it is based upon the healthy plate model that that the government makes available. This particular one I picked up at one of my doctor's offices, but when you look at it, it talks about what a healthy plate looks like. And this one right here is how much protein you should have. So your lean protein should be there. Your non-starchy vegetables here. And then your starchy vegetables and grains and different things like that can be over there. So So that's what you want to think about when you're planning your meal. So you want to try planning around your proteins. So pulling out what particular item that you've got in there. And again, do you have some meat that's been in the freezer for a while? Did you pick up something from the market? And I am terrible at this from time to time. Did you pick up something at the market that you put in the fridge because you were going to cook it that night or the next day and forgot about it? So now it's too late to freeze it and you need to cook it before it goes bad. So you've got to get that cooked soon. So plan around that kind of thing. And then also consider, what do you want to cook and what might you want to make with it? And you'll plot this out on your meal planning worksheet. So let me show you the meal planning worksheet that I have. And so this is a meal planning worksheet that I've got the days of the week down here. Over here, I could plan in whatever it is that I want to cook. So I would put my, let's say I've got a roasted chicken. So I might put roasted chicken right here. And then over here would be my notes or shopping list that I might need to have. So let's say I know I've had this roasted chicken in my freezer for a while. Let's say I picked it up from Kroger and it was a rotisserie chicken, and now it's, so it was already done when I got it. So then I popped it in the freezer and now it's time for me to get it out. Well, then I would put that right in here and then decide, well, what do I want to serve with that roasted chicken? So then I would add some of those other goodies that I might want to serve with that. And let me give you a power tip. A power tip is to plan leftovers or to make that meat choice work twice. Now, when I say plan for your protein source, some of you might be vegans and you don't eat meat. Okay, regardless of whatever your protein source is, you want to plan around that. So if that protein source is going to be some kind of beans or tofu or something like that, then you're going to put that in there and then decide what are you going to have to go with that. And like I said, the power tip is to plan leftovers, and I'll show you how I do that, and or make that protein source work for 2 meals. And then tip number 3 is to shop your stash. And by your stash, I mean your inventory. That's going to be those things that you have on the list in your freezer, your fridge, or your pantry. So you're going to shop those first. So based on the meat or the protein you've selected, what side dishes do you want to serve? What does your family like to eat? And are there new recipes that you want to try? And the other thing you've got to think about is what's going on that week that might impact what you cook or how much time you have to cook. That's something else you've got to think about. And then once you think about all of this, then you enter your side dishes on the meal planning worksheet, paying particular attention to what you already have in your fridge, your freezer, or your pantry. So now let me show you the examples that I've got using the worksheet that I put together for my family. So this is for this week, the week of January 5th. And you can kind of see I've got notes all over it. So for Sunday, I chose a roasted chicken, and because that's on my inventory that I've got that roasted chicken in the freezer. So I decided I wanted to have roasted chicken, sweet potatoes, collard greens, and cranberry sauce. You guys know I love cranberry sauce. So I serve cranberry sauce like most people serve corn and green beans. We have cranberry sauce 3 or 4 times a week, or at least I have it. The hubby will eat it maybe once or twice, but he can pass on it most of the time. And then since it's Sunday, maybe I'll also serve lemonade because I love lemonade, but I'm trying to cut down on it. So, okay. So this is where I've decided what I'm going to have. Now, when I look at what's in my pantry, my fridge, or my freezer, I've got sweet potatoes already in my pantry. I've got some collard greens in the freezer that I made for Thanksgiving, and I put them in little freezer bags or maybe a little freezer dish. So I'm going to get those out. I'm going to defrost those and have those with the roasted chicken. And we're going to have, like I said, the cranberry sauce. I've already got that in the pantry. So I've got probably 3 or 4 cans of cranberry sauce in the pantry already. So what I don't have, though, is sweet potatoes. So over here for my notes or shop section, I'm going to put sweet potatoes and lemonade, because I try not to buy the lemonade anymore except for Sunday or special occasion. So hey, Sister Cousins Lifestyle, welcome. I'm so glad you joined us tonight. So that's how you do that meal. Now, the other thing, though, is with that roasted chicken. We're a family of 2. So there's no way we're going to eat a whole roasted chicken. So when I prepare that chicken, I'm going to cut it in half, put the other half back in the fridge, and we're going to have half of that chicken on Sunday. But on Wednesday, we're going to have chicken and noodles. So we're going to have chicken and noodles. And then we like a lot of green beans here. So we're going to have green beans along with the chicken and noodles. Of course, we'll have cranberry sauce, because whenever you have chicken or pork chops or turkey, you gotta have cranberry sauce. So we'll have some cranberry sauce there. And then I might also have some sliced peaches because, like I said, my husband doesn't like cranberry sauce as much as I do. So I might give him some sliced peaches along with that. Now, what don't I have? Well, I made turkey noodle soup not too long ago, so I don't have any noodles. So I'll have to put noodles on my list. So there's noodles over there. And then on Monday, I picked up some country style ribs when Kroger's had them on sale. They're on my inventory. So I want to get those country style ribs cooked up. So I'm going to make country style ribs with potatoes and gravy. Also, we're going to have corn, like canned corn, because my husband loves canned corn. Well, he loves corn. Canned corn, frozen corn, corn on the cob. Any way you can fix corn almost, he likes it. So we're probably going to have frozen corn because I've got about 8 bags of that in the freezer because I picked it up when Kroger's had their like 10 for $10. So I pick up several bags of corn, green beans, and that kind of thing. So we're going to have country style ribs with potatoes and gravy, corn, and again, cranberry sauce. And we'll also have some collards because remember I had collard greens left over from Sunday. So now Tashi's wanting to know, do I budget? Let me come back to that question at the end, budgeting weekly or monthly. So Tashi, if you could ask me that question again at the end, please, I will answer it. And I've got some answers for that. But I want to get all the information in first in case people want to jump off and don't want to stay for the Q&A. So if you could please bring me that question back, we'll do it. All right. So what do I need to buy for this meal? Well, I just need to buy the apples. And I like the Bob Evans fried apples. You can buy them at Kroger in the not the deli, but in their freezer case, and they're delicious. And they had them on sale at Christmas time for about, I don't know, $3. So I bought a couple packs of them, but they're gone. I've eaten them already. So I need to buy some more of those. And Kroger's always has them, but they have them on sale around holiday time. So I need to pick those up. So if you see, though, what I've got to pick up so far, I haven't had to pick up very much. And then on Tuesday, I like to call Tuesday Taco Tuesday. Now, my husband and I went to Qdoba's for tacos every Tuesday night for almost 3 years. Well, he's sick of tacos. He doesn't want to go to Qdoba anymore. So if I really want to get him out there, he will, but he'd rather not go for tacos on Tuesdays anymore. But I still think of Tuesdays as Taco Tuesday. Well, the other day when I was looking at my kitchen vignette challenge, and I was looking through all the videos, Mysterious Alberta had a turkey taco soup recipe. And I thought, I want to make that. So I asked her to send me that recipe and she said she would. But if she doesn't, I can go online and find one. And then Gina Whitney, if you could send me that question at the end, save it for the end, and I'll come back to that. So I'm going to have turkey taco soup because it's taco night. So we'll have turkey taco soup. We'll have some corn muffins with that. I love to have corn muffins with soup. I'll have oyster crackers or Ritz or saltines, but I really enjoy corn muffins, like Jiffy corn muffins with soup. We'll have a salad, and again, my fried apples. So we'll have that. So what do I need to pick up? Well, I need to pick up some taco chips and then some salsa for that recipe. So there's that. And then on Wednesday, I already said we're having chicken and noodles because when I made that chicken on Sunday, I cut it in half knowing we're going to have the other half on Wednesday. Now, if you're a family of 3 or 4, you might need that whole chicken for that Sunday meal. So you might have to plan something else for that Wednesday meal. But if you can, try to plan something on Sunday when you have longer times to cook that you can also plan for Wednesday. So maybe you might cook 2 chickens on Sunday. One that you're going to have is roasted chicken for that Sunday dinner, and the other roasted chicken you're going to use on Wednesday, but you're going to shred it up and make your chicken and noodles. So again, you're still killing 2 birds with 1 stone. So Tashi says it's just her husband and she and her husband, so they can have leftovers for 2 days. Now, here's the thing. What I would consider doing then, if let's say I make a meal that we have it on Monday and we can have those leftovers on Wednesday or those leftovers on Thursday, maybe I'll put some aside in like little freezer containers so that on the days that he's got to go to work, he can use those for lunches before he has to go into work, or use those as an early dinner before he goes into work. So I don't always use my leftovers for another dinner. Sometimes I use those leftovers for lunches if need be. Or maybe sometime we're just going to be at home and we're going to have lunch together, and we had maybe some kind of soup or something on Sunday, and then maybe we're going to have those leftovers on another day. But if you take lunches, then plan to have some of that as well for lunches. So I mentioned Sunday we're having roasted chicken. Monday we're having Monday we're having country style ribs, and I only bought like 4 ribs because I only bought enough for 1 meal when I bought those. They had them on sale. And for the Taco Tuesday we're having turkey taco soup, and then on Wednesday the leftover chicken. So we're having chicken and noodles. And then there's usually enough chicken and noodles left over for another meal. And so that's when I will put in like a little freezer dish and put those aside to save either for lunches or for the next week. And then on Thursday, we're going to have Creole chicken. And it's a really kind of a low spicy chicken that's really good, but we'll have that with rice. So I'll have Creole chicken with rice and then some broccoli and green beans or green beans. And then what do I need to make the Creole chicken? Well, I need to buy some diced tomatoes because I've got plenty of chicken breast in my freezer. It's on my list. So all I need to get is the diced tomatoes. And I know I also need rice for that dish. We've got plenty of rice in the pantry. I need green peppers. I've got green peppers in the fridge. So the biggest thing that I need to get is to get the diced tomatoes. And hey, Woman and Woman Homestead, this is one of the requested videos by you in particular on how to plan meal plans. So this is something that we might want to do. So now Tamika says she has a family of 5 and she's been working herself to death, between 2 teenage boys and a girl and her husband. She's tired. They're tired of spaghetti. So then hopefully this will help. So, and we can have some more suggestions in just a little bit, but let me kind of get to the end. And then on Friday night, typically is date night. So we'll usually go out to eat. So then I don't have to worry about planning a meal there. And then on Saturday, I've got some meatballs in the freezer been in there, I know, at least 6 months, if not 9 months. And I need to get those out and get them cooked. So we'll have spaghetti and meatballs on Saturday. And that's a quick, kind of a quick casual meal. So we'll have spaghetti and meatballs. We'll have green beans. We eat a lot of green beans around here. So we'll have green beans with that. We may also have a green salad and then some garlic cheese bread. So I'll need to buy the garlic cheese bread. And you can buy that like in the frozen bread section at Kroger. But if you look at my shopping list over here, there's not a lot of things here that I need to shop for. Most of the stuff that I'm going to make, I already have in my inventory. So I'm going to shop my stash and I'm going to build these, whatever I'm going to make around this. So there's that. Oh, and then one other thing I want you to notice here on my worksheet, and you might want to think about this as well. So for example, on Monday, I know the hubby has to work on Monday and he's got to go in at 6. So that means I'm going to need to cook dinner early so that I can get him fed before he has to go out the door. Because if he's got to be at work at 5 or 6 and he's going to work until 11, then he needs to have something to eat before he leaves the house. Down here on Wednesday, that's a day that I might have to go out to work. I work like 9 to 12:30 on Wednesday. I teach a very short class on Wednesday. So I'm still home early enough to cook a meal, but he's also got to work that day. So I want to make sure I get it done early. So I decided I'm going to make something here, and it's going to be leftovers from Sunday. And maybe I've got a little note here that says Sunday supper. Well, the Sunday supper might be is a book that I've got for if I want to look up a few recipes. And there was someone on here that said, "Do we have any suggestions?" Because she's sick of cooking the same things. Well, one of the things you might consider is taking a look at either going online or looking at some cookbooks, recipes, that kind of thing. But let me come back to that because that's toward the end. All right, so we got that. And I suggest you try to plan your meals 1 or 2 weeks out, whichever one works best for you. And then again, make sure you've got the listed items that you need to pick up on the side of your grocery list. Now, if you look at this week, and this is for next week, the week of January 12th. You notice there's a few more things over here in the shopping or notes section than was in this one. All right, so next week on Sunday, and you know I'm old school. You have a big meal on Sunday, then because you've got more time to cook. So we're going to have a roast beef. And then, and I'm going to make it in the slow cooker maybe, or I might try my Instant Pot. But right now I've got roast beef in the slow cooker. And sometimes I'll do that because I'm prepping for my Shout Out Sunday show, which I have on my new channel. So a lot of times I'll put roast beef in the slow cooker. And then I'll put carrots, potatoes, celery in the slow cooker with that. So now I've got all my veggies in there. So it's almost a one-pot meal. But I may make homemade biscuits to go along with that. And then also pecan pie. And I've got a pecan recipe that I want to try. So yeah, so I'll do that. So over here, what I already know is that I'm out of potatoes. So then I'll have to buy more potatoes. And then I'll need to buy some pie shells. Because I've got the pecan pie filling. And I'll have to show you the video where I make that. But I've got the pecan pie filling, but I don't have any pie shells. So I've got that on my purchase list. On Monday, I'm going to make chicken marsala, mashed potatoes, and Brussels sprouts. And again, I've got lots of chicken in the freezer because whenever I see chicken on sale, I always pick it up. So I've got lots of it in there, but that means I've also got chicken in there that I need to use. And then on this Monday also, hubby's got to work that day. So I've got a note there that I need to make sure that I, one, get dinner done early, and I'm trying a new recipe. So I've got a note here that says this is a new recipe and that this is hubby's work day. So I've got to get it done early, that kind of thing. So over here, one of the things I'm going to need for that recipe is some different kinds of mushrooms. So I've got to pick those up, and some pancetta. So I need that. Now, this chicken marsala is going to be found in this cookbook here called Sunday Suppers. And so I typically would have written Sunday Suppers, and I'm going to do that right now. And then that way I'll write Sunday Supper right down here so that I know it's in the Sunday Suppers cookbook. So that's where I'll find the recipe. And so that's what how I'll know where things are. Can you make chicken marsala with thighs? Well, let's take a look. I believe so, but well, most of the time you use chicken breast to make chicken marsala because you use like chicken cutlets. So they're trimmed and you kind of smash them real flat. But I suppose you could do all the things that you normally do as far as the seasoning and the spices and all that on the chicken thighs, just like you could with the chicken breast. So yeah, I don't see why not. So there's that. And then on Tuesday, you know, it's Taco Tuesday, but we're not having tacos, but I want something that has a Mexican theme to it. So we're going to have shredded beef burritos because remember, we had roast beef on Sunday. So we're going to have shredded beef burritos on Tuesday with black beans and roasted vegetable Spanish rice. Now, that recipe for that roasted Spanish rice I found online at food52.com. So I printed off the recipe so that I would have it available, and I will clip that to the back of this meal planner worksheet so that when I get ready to make it, it's on here. Now, I would normally say only make one new recipe a week because you don't want to spend too much time trying to sort out how to cook it. But I've got a little bit more time since I'm retired than some of you. And the other thing is that it's a side dish, you know, so I can, if I decide not to make that one, I could just make plain rice. So it's an either or. But I put, again, you know, like I wrote on here where that recipe is from so that if I need to find it later, I can, even though I did print it off. Heaven forbid I should lose it, then I know how to go about finding it. And then the things that I need are over here that I need to pick up. And then on Wednesday, we're having beef and noodles because we had the roast beef on Sunday. We had the shredded beef burritos on Tuesday. And you know, roast beef goes a long way. So we will either have either the beef and noodles on Wednesday, or if I decide there's not enough beef to go around, then I can swap out something else from my freezer or swap out the shredded beef burritos for something else. And then on Thursday, we're going to have fried fish. So my hubby likes to have fish. And so he will fry fish on that night. And then I will just either eat leftovers or I buy some frozen dinners from time to time, like a Weight Watchers or Lean Cuisine. Maybe I'll eat something like that night. He'll fry the fish and then we'll eat together, but I don't eat fish, so I won't eat that. And then Friday night is going to be date night, but I already know right now that he's going to be working Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and Saturday. So he just may not want to go out to dinner on Friday night. He might want to just stay home and relax. So either we will order out or we'll go out and get something to eat, you know, that way. And then on Saturday, since it is another work day for the hubby, but I've got some hamburger that's been in the fridge for a while, so I need to make something with that. So I thought I would make hamburger vegetable soup, and it's a great soup. I also call it new baby soup sometimes because when I first got that recipe, I had just had my youngest son. He was like less than a week old, and one of my neighbors, an older lady across the street, Mrs. Estolis, came over and brought dinner. And it was hamburger vegetable soup, which was like her family recipe, hamburger vegetable soup. She brought with it what she called an apple salad, which was kind of like a Waldorf Castoria salad to me, or Waldorf salad to me. Some homemade yeast rolls, and yeah, so the soup, the salad, the rolls. So she brought that over for dinner. I was just like, oh my goodness. Here I was laying on the sofa, had been feeding the baby and trying to figure out what am I going to make for dinner. The hubby was at work and she brought over that soup and it was like, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And also she showed me what neighbors are supposed to do. So now when I know that someone's had a new baby, I will often make that soup, but I'll make corn muffins instead of yeast rolls, and I'll take that over and some kind of a dessert. It could be fresh fruit, it could be a pie, but I'll make that and take it over for a new mom just to kind of minister to them when they're in need. So sometimes I call it new baby soup, but it's actually hamburger vegetable soup. And so that's what we're going to have on that day. But now one of the things that you'll know is that there's more things to buy over here. All right, so now let me get this out of the way. So the second power tip, which I meant to give and I forgot to say it, is don't try to make more than one new recipe a week, just so you don't make yourself crazy. But if you do, make sure it's something that's not too difficult to make. And the other thing is, where are you going to keep this information? So you can do a couple of different things. Like, for example, these new meal planner sheets, which I have made for this year, I'm going to keep these in like a 3-ring binder. You just kind of put them in a 3-ring binder, like so. And you can keep them in there. You can keep them in there with the recipes, that kind of thing. And then that way, 2 weeks from now, when you're starting another session of meal planning, then you can maybe pull some menus from this one or not. It's up to you. This is the binder that I used earlier. It's like an A5, Inkwell Press A5. And so in it, I had menu planning worksheets like this. I guess I could just take them out and show them to you. So see, then you can have your menu over here, and then over here is your shopping list. And then this one was front and back. Menu here, shopping list. And here you can see where I changed out what I was going to cook. So I just put like a piece of a sticker over the top of that and wrote in something different. And someone made the comment that you can pass this book down to other people. And yes, you can pass that book down to your daughter through the generations. And then when you go grocery shopping, like I said, you go grocery shopping based on your list. Now, of course, there'll be things that you need for around the house that may not be on there. Perishables, milk and bread and butter and all those kinds of things. So those are your incidentals that you're going to need to get either on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. But so you'll have another shopping list that you will put all of those things on, and you will add these to it as well. So I don't know if it's Tank or Leah, but you guys asked me a year ago to make this video, and I kept saying I'm going to do it. And then several other people here asked me to do the same thing. So, hey, Cheryl, how are you doing? So I thought, let me do this on our second episode of T&Tlive. Oh, it's Leah. Okay. Well, I thought, let me go ahead and get this done. So now the question was, how often do you go shopping? Please, 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 ladies, only go shopping once a week. I've just had all kind of things going on in our family. And I don't just mean me and the hubby, but I mean my extended family, so that I've had to go out more than I normally do. I've had to go shopping more than I normally do. I've probably been to the grocery store at least 3 times in the last week. And Every time you go to the grocery store to pick up that 1 or 2 items, you always end up picking up more. So you end up spending more money. So meal planning and shopping for what's on your list, and then your other things that you need, and you put those on your list, then you save money. Now, Cheryl says she tries to go once a month, and that can work for some families. But if you've got children, teenagers, or small children, you might have to get more like milk and fruit and things like that. And bread, I don't know. Bread, sometimes it lasts and sometimes it doesn't. So sometimes you might have to go more often for those kind of perishable items. But try to go no more than once a week, because you spend more money when you go more often. Let's see. So now, what questions do you have related to meal planning, and some of the questions that you guys have? Let's address those now. And let me also ask you guys, would you guys like to have a copy of my meal planning worksheet? I'm also in the process of creating a shopping list. Would you guys be interested in those? Okay, well, if you guys want a copy of this meal planning worksheet, if you just email me, and my email address is in the description box. If you email me, I'll send it out to you. I'll send out a PDF version of that. I'll send it out to you. And so I'll send that out to you, and then I'll put you, when you email me, I'll collect your email address and put you on my mailing list, so that when I get the shopping list done, I'll get that sent out to you as well. Because I thought this really works pretty well for me, and so I thought it just might work for you guys. So now, one of the questions, so Wendy Always Busy said she usually plans about once a month. So then if you're going to meal plan for a month, then you'd want to use 4 of these so that you can plan. And planning once a month is really good, but you got to make sure you're shopping your inventory, which if you're doing that, then it could be that your pantry and your freezer, it's going to work just like you want it to work. Because it does save you time, and it saves you money, and you don't waste as much food. And I tell you, what really made me start to buckle down and do this is because I was wasting a lot of food. I was in a pantry challenge last year with Lisa Sutton at Sutton's Days, and one of the things that she emphasizes is don't waste food. And I thought about how much fresh produce I threw out because I just didn't get to using it. So I am a much better steward of that. So Leah said she's going to try to start on Saturday with planning. So Leah, email me tonight if you can, or tomorrow, and then I'll get these emailed out to you so that you can have those to work with right away. Now, as far as budgeting, I was looking at a couple different things as I prepared for this session, and it is recommended that you plan about $100 per person a month. So if you have a family of 4, then you can plan about $400 per person, $400 per person for a month. I was going to try to spend $25 this week, like a week for the month of January, because I'm trying to do a no spend or a very low spend, because I've got so much stuff in the freezer. My son was here for Thanksgiving, and he said, "Mom, it looks like you guys got enough stuff in the freezer. You guys planning for the duration or what?" And I'm like, well, no. So when I say $100, not $100 a week, but about $100 a month to plan for people. Now, Janae Whitney says she spends way more than that. Well, Janae, if you cook more at home, and if you cook mostly fresh, then you will spend a lot less money. When I'm buying like those Bob Evans apples or something like that. So now Michelle myself, and Tammy says she spends about $320 a week for just her and her husband. Oh, Tammy, what are you buying? Oh, okay. She said she spends about $325 a month, and I probably spend about that much for me and the hubby too. I spend more than I should, but sometimes I buy high price stuff because I can. Now, when we had the kids at home, we were a family of 5 and we were raising 3 kids, and you know how teen boys can eat a lot. I didn't buy some of the foods then that I buy now. So Leah, if there's like I know there's you and Tank, and I think you guys have one child. I'm not sure how many kids you got, but you and Tank spend about $300 a month on food. And so you're a family of three, yeah. So that works out, and then you could probably spend a little less or a little more based upon what you buy. So there's that. There was another question that someone had put in there. So let me give some suggestions now. I think it was it Tamika's that said that she needs ideas for food. So like I picked this up at Whole Foods, this Sunday suppers, and it's got really a lot of good ideas in here. It says America's Kitchen Tested. And when I looked at the table of contents, I had, first of all, they talk about crafting your Sunday supper. Old world classics, modern family dinners, the lazy Sunday cook, Sunday around the world, and meatless Sundays. Because sometimes I'll do a meatless Monday and I'll do just like a mac and cheese. But my husband doesn't believe in meatless meals too much. But if that's what I make, he'll eat it. He's pretty good about eating whatever I cook. But you could do meatless Monday sometimes. But I have this. And so you could look at that. I've also got an Instant Pot that I got for my birthday, and I've been learning to work with it. So I've got this Instant Pot cookbook from Taste of Home. So Tammy wants to know, is it more time efficient when you plan your days in general? Yes. First of all, when you plan your meals, unless, I do the Fly Lady process, the Fly Lady method. And so on Wednesday is our desk day or our planning day. And so that's the day that I clean out my refrigerator, wash it out, and then I plan my meals on Wednesday. And it only takes maybe an hour to plan what you're going to have. Because, like I've got the inventory done. So now that I've got the inventory done, as I use up some of the items, then I will maybe take a marker and mark it off. Or like, for example, I've got here chops, 2 packs. And then maybe I'll put a little X here and indicate I've used 1 pack of chops. So I've got my inventory there. So I can always just kind of work from here. And if there's anything on sale, then I might pick up some extra things just for the freezer. Michelle says her husband would not go for a meatless meal. Mine is not thrilled about a meatless meal, but he will eat it if that's what I make. So Tammy also wants to know, no, somebody else had a question. Leah said they're buying a cow for $700. Yeah, those are good investments because then you've got all the hamburger, the beef, all kinds of things in there. Janae says she buys whatever she wants or have a taste for, regardless of whether it's on sale or not. Yeah, I do that too. We have one big freezer in the garage, and then we have like a side-by-side fridge in the house. Oh, so Janae wants to know, do I plan and buy meals based on sales ads? No. I'm ashamed to say I don't. Now, it would be good. You could save a lot of money if you did plan your meals based on sales ads, because then you could save a lot of money. What I'll do is when I'm at Kroger, I'm just going up and down the aisles with my list. And when I hit the meat section, I go right away to the manager's specials. I want to see what's on sale. And so they had country style ribs on sale 2 weekends in a row. So I bought country style ribs 2 weekends in a row. I only bought 4. They're in the freezer case and they're in my freezer now. Fresh Time, that's where I went. I said I went to Whole Foods, but I meant Fresh Time. I was at Fresh Time, and that's where I bought this cookbook, at Fresh Time. Hey, Cal, how you doing? So Wendy said her husband used to get a half a cow and a whole pig every year. And it does help with the budget as well. It does help with the budget because you've gotten the meat at a much lower price. And you just have to make sure that you're rotating it out, that you use it up. You don't let it go bad or get freezer burn. So there's that. There was another question, I think. So Leah said they canned a lot of tomatoes, making salsa and I think marinara sauce, but they made a lot of things like that. And it really helps with the budget when you buy like a half a cow or a pig or something like that. So yes. And yes, step one is creating your inventory, creating your meal plan based upon that, based upon your inventory, and then shopping based upon your meal plan. So the next time we can talk more about budgeting and a little bit more about how to store some of this and that kind of thing. And like I said, I can put in more graphics and those kinds of things. But if you guys found this helpful, please make sure you give me a thumbs up. Oh, so Tammy said she missed step one. So step one, and I'm glad you said that, Tammy. My son reminded me that I should always do a recap for those people that jump on late. So when you're looking at beginning to plan, step one is to take an inventory. Step two is to plan around your protein source. So if you're a vegan, you're going to use whatever kind of proteins you use, but you're going to plan around your protein. If you're a meat eater, you're going to plan around that. And step three is going to be to shop your stash, meaning to shop your inventory. And I gave you guys 2 power tips, and power tip 1 was to plan for leftovers or to make that one of those meat meals serve for 2 meals. For example, Sunday dinners, if you're going to cook a roasted chicken, maybe cook 2 roasted chickens. So I think like Leah, I think you guys have a teenager. So if you cook that roasted chicken, 1 roasted chicken may be eaten by all 3 of you, or there may be just enough left over for leftovers. So if you eat the whole chicken, then maybe on that Sunday you would make 2 roasted chickens, 1 for Sunday dinner and 1 to have for chicken and noodles or something else in the middle of the week. So you would do something like that. And then the other power tip, I gave you the 2 power tips. So plan for leftovers or to make that meal serve for 2. Oh, and the other power tip was don't plan more than 1 new recipe in that week. So you can plan for 1 a week, but just 1 in that week. Hey, Cal, it's so good to have you jump on with us. We're talking about how to meal plan. And I know you are a family of 1 now. So when you meal plan, you can try to maybe plan to make meals that you can have leftovers for lunches or dinners and that kind of thing. What are some other questions that you guys have about meal planning? Because I think we pretty much covered this topic the way that I wanted to, and I don't want to keep you guys on and just chat. I mean, I enjoy chatting, but I want to be conscious of your time as well. So those of you that said you wanted this meal planning worksheet, send me an email, and my email is in the description box, and I will send that out to you. And then in the next couple of weeks, I'll have a link that you can click on the link and then just kind of get it yourself that way. But I don't have that prepared just yet. And if you're into comfort foods, I've got a playlist of comfort foods that you really might enjoy. And that hamburger vegetable soup recipe, I do have a video on that. So I will link that below as well. Cal, you said a lot of your meals go to waste now. You know what, Cal? You might want to try to figure out how to cook smaller meals. How to cook smaller meals, or if you cook the meal, maybe invest in some freezer dishes so that you can put part of it in the freezer and have it at another time. And that's one of the things I forgot to say too. When you're looking in your inventory in your freezer, don't forget to pull out those dishes that you've put in the freezer. Like for example, tonight I had collard greens in the freezer. I took those out and popped those in the oven so that they could thaw out while I was getting ready for the show. So my hubby is having those collard greens that we had for Thanksgiving with his dinner tonight. But don't forget those kinds of things because they can be in the freezer too long as well. So what other tidbits can I share with you guys? Leah, are you good? Are you good? Do you have a good starting point now? And how about you, Tammy? One of the things you want to think about is how can you save on your food budget? Because just because you can doesn't mean you should. And all that money you're spending on food, maybe you might need some of that budget a little bit somewhere else. So let's say if you were a family of, like we're a family of two, and so I still plan about $300 a month for us. But the one good thing is that if you don't spend that entire budget, you can put that money aside and put it into savings for something else or move it to the next week. So Tamika said that this is a good starting point for her. So thank you, Tamika. Be sure and come back when I get the video up, because with the video, I can be more explicit with infographics and things like that. So microgreens are your greens this week. What is that? I'm not sure what that is. So are there any other questions, or are we good? You guys are at a good starting point. Those of you that want the meal planner, be sure and email me. I will send that out to you. Then I'll put you on my email list. And then when I get the shopping list done, I'll get that sent out to you as well. And then Cal, if you always cook too much, think about, are there some older adults in your neighborhood that might appreciate a hot meal? You might take something to them, or maybe invite a girlfriend over to have a meal with you. Because remember, you're starting a new normal. So there's that. Okay, so Leah says we've had a good start tonight. Kristen says it's a good idea. Oh, Christian Taylor. Oh, my niece, Kristen Taylor, has jumped on. Oh, thank you so much, Chrissy, for jumping on. I really appreciate it. Hey, guys, my niece, Chrissy, is on. So everybody say hi to Chrissy. This is her first time ever jumping in on one of my shows. So, Chrissy, we were talking about how to meal plan. And just in case you missed it, there were 3 tips. Tip number 1 was to inventory your freezer, your fridge, and your pantry. Tip number 2 was to plan around your protein. Tip number 3 was to shop your stash or your inventory. And then the 2 power tips were to plan for leftovers, or make that meat serve for 2. Like if you have chicken on Sunday, also plan to serve the leftovers on Wednesday. And then the other power tip was to don't try more than 1 new recipe a week. Now, here's a question that I think you guys might want to think about. What if your family doesn't eat leftovers? Then what? What if your family doesn't eat leftovers? So if your family doesn't eat leftovers, what you might want to try to figure out how to do is either cook less, or is there a way that you could put it in the freezer, in a freezer dish, and then serve it the following week? And then could they do it that way? So Leah said she's got one of those. They don't eat leftovers. So one of the things that I used to do is I would like maybe take that, let's say we're having chili, and I made this huge pot of chili, and my chili makes enough probably for the free world. I will take some out and I will go ahead and freeze some right away and put that in the freezer. And then I will bring that out maybe a week or 2 weeks later, and they think it's new. So yeah, freezing is a good idea. Freezing is really a good idea. And then if the hubby takes his lunch, maybe sometimes the leftovers could be used for lunch or something like that. But yeah, I remember one of my sisters, her husband didn't eat any leftovers. So, she had to always make something new each day. But like I said, if you're making roasted chicken, make 2 roasted chickens, put 1 in the freezer for next week. We have 1 now. And then when you bring it out later on as chicken and noodles, he will never know the difference. I'm pretty lucky though. My husband will eat pretty much anything that I cook. When we were first married, he was so sweet, and it was kind of funny sometimes. He would eat it, and then a few days later he'd say, well, let's not have that anymore. So I kind of learned what he liked and didn't like, that kind of thing. But other comments or questions or that kind of thing? So again, I'm going to link below my hamburger soup or my new baby soup. So be sure and check out my hamburger soup. I've got a whole playlist of comfort foods and soups and that kind of thing. And Thrifty Tashi was in on that collaboration with those soups that I've done. So we'll have that linked below. And just so you know, I've raised 3 children. I've managed a home for more than 45 years. So if you want to learn more about running a household, cooking and cleaning and laundry and health and beauty, subscribe. I'd love to have you as a member of the T&T community. So yeah, freeze it. And then if they have no idea that you had it last week, it's new, or you could do bean soup or something like that. So Cheryl, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate that. And Tamika's channel, thank you. Christian, thank you so much. Wendy, always busy, thank you. Tamika, Leah at Woman and Woman Homestead. And Leah, I am so sorry you had that nastiness happen. Some people just don't know how to act or how to treat other people. So sorry about that. And, you know, who was that said, oh, Cheryl said they would just starve. I remember, guys, this is off topic and then I'm going to wrap it up. But there's this commercial where this parent, mother, father, and 2 kids are sitting at the table and the mom is cooking something and she says, you guys are going to eat that. And she says, and the little girl goes, I'm not eating that. And so the mother says, you're not getting up from this table until you eat it. And the little girl goes, well, then I'll just sit here all night. So then the mother gets up and makes some Kraft mac and cheese, and they eat that, and everybody's happy. I said, she don't have my mama. Because number one, if I had dared to cross my arms and said that they will sit here all night, number one, I'd have been smacked out of the chair across the room. That's number one. But number two, you ate what my mama put on that table. And if you didn't eat that night, it was on the table again the next day. So trust me, you ate what my mother cooked. So that was just a little bit an aside. So anyway, good night, guys. I'm so glad you guys jumped on with me. I must say, I was a little nervous. I've just been a little nervous about this new format. You know, I made this shift from the Shout Out Sunday show here on This and That with Denise. And now we're doing T&Tlive, and I'm trying to address cooking and cleaning. And I'll be doing some laundry. I've got a couple questions from the laundry lab that I need to address. So we did the one question from the laundry lab on Tuesday, which was about how often you should change your towels. So I'll link that below. And then this is the first one, though. This is the real first one where we talked about food and that. So Christian, thank you so much for joining me because I was just really a little bit nervous. So thank you, guys. I think tonight was a success. And I'll see you next Thursday at 7:45 Eastern for another T&Tlive. And we'll have something else new from the kitchen. So see you soon.